r/ask Reddit by Reddit Finance. Men of Reddit, what are the struggles of dating a very rich girl? Dating a girl who's rich is different than one that comes from money. Once dated a wealthy older woman and she insisted on paying when going out to dinner because she knew I was in college. Also dated one who came from money, who insisted on eating out but never offered to help out with a check. She broke it off after 2 consecutive date nights we spent at my apartment, where I cooked dinner and watched a movie instead of going out and going to a theater. I lucked out. Pretending to pull out your wallet when it's time to pay for anything, then asking, "Are you sure?" When I met my wife's parents we went out to dinner. Toward the end of the meal I excused myself and went up to the hostess and asked for the check so I could pay it. Her father sprinted across the restaurant to stop me from paying. For Christmas, I got him a gift certificate for that same restaurant. It's a running joke now. My struggle never came from the girl. If anything, she was self-conscious of her family's wealth. She was humble, caring, and generous. I owe them big time for their generosity. Her parents were the same, especially the father. But there was a particular caveat, an expectation from others to live up to generating a similar career or income as the father. While my love for her was clear and obvious, my long-term future to provide a similar stability would be questioned by other family members. I think this is how every family feels when ensuring their loved younger members start to get serious with someone. But this was a high bar. I don't think she held the same expectations, but I can't help but to think it gets to her enough to have to think about it. Maybe it was my own lack of self-esteem that fueled this. It probably was. But that is one struggle. The other struggle was listening to others put her down for her wealth for the smallest of things. For example, if she simply disagreed with them. She was a genuinely good person with lots of great qualities, not much to hate on. So, people would resort to the easiest insult they could come up with by calling her rich, spoiled, or snobby. She was none of that. Makes me feel like she struggled more than I did. My family is upper middle class. I lived in a 4-bedroom 3-bathroom suburban house with a 2-car garage, a big pool, and a huge backyard on a gated street next to a golf course and country club. Her parents thought that was the ghetto and that driving through there was risky. Can't remember ever witnessing a crime in my 19 years living there. I was dating this one girl when I was teaching, and she had to go home for her friend's wedding. It was the first time I was meeting her family. It turned out she came from a really rich family. At the bachelor party, the guys tried to sabotage us and put a dead fish in my bed with a note that I was just after her for her money. I got past it, but then her dad said I would never be enough. Eventually she actually asked me to marry her and I said no, because she would have to ditch her family. I asked her dad to meet me and we met, and I informed him of this, and that if she was miserable in her later marriage that she had just to please them. Remember, it was me that made him able to at least be a part of it, since she was willing to leave them all for me. On my flight home she showed up and asked again, but this time with her parents' blessing. We are now married and really rich, but her friends are mostly still a-holes. Wanna do X? I don't have any money. Why don't you just put it on your card? No baby, I don't have any money. Payday's on Friday. We can do something then. Come on. Just dip into your overdraft. Sweetheart, take all the money in the world, put it in a pile, burn it to the ground. That's how much money I have or have access to. I have no money. Look, if you don't want to go, just say so. I dated a rather wealthy girl in college. Not dumb rich, or FU money rich, but 5k a month expense account rich. One day I was at her family's for dinner and her dad made some underhanded comment about my family's status. I was done hearing it, so I looked at him and asked him, "What's important to you?" He was kinda confused and I clarified, "What things in your life are important to you?" He goes on about success, career, striving to make more money, his businesses, and then, "Oh, and family," was the last thing he said. I simply responded, "That's where you and I differ. When someone asks me what's important to me, your daughter is at the top of my list, not an afterthought. That's why she's dating me over some other rich guy that will always put her last." His wife and my girlfriend both kinda snickered as he sat there wide-eyed. He didn't respond and went back to eating. He never bothered us again with his snide remarks. We broke up for unrelated reasons though. had a difference in values I couldn't get past. But I think that's one reason why she liked me. What I lacked in money I definitely made up for in character. I had no interest in pandering to her father. He didn't intimidate me, and his status didn't mean jack to me. She loved that I was witty enough to handle his rich people talk, and wasn't afraid to speak my mind. I married way up. I live in a nice medium-sized city. The main road, the mall, the parks, schools are all named after my wife's family. Very old money. When my mother-in-law goes out with us to nice restaurants, everything comes to a halt. People whisper. It's a surreal existence sometimes. I've got a good job, unrelated to her family, that takes me out of state pretty often, but I really don't have to work, although I feel too young to retire. I didn't really have any struggles dating my wife. She's very down to earth. Her family is very gracious, and I never felt weird. I'm often referred to as Mr. Her maiden last name, and I've never minded. I figure it's like being the non-famous spouse of a famous actress. Her not being able to understand, or at least fully empathize with financial struggles. One of my exes from college has a crazy wealthy dad. To this day, she has been graduated 4 years now, still pays her phone bill, car insurance, paid for the car too, and gives her absurd gifts in the form of cash seemingly randomly. Back in college, she couldn't understand why I was having anxiety attacks about balancing my job, school, and somehow being able to afford to live from month to month. Her attitude was, oh my gosh, you just worry so much. Come on, let's go have fun tonight. I have to be up at 8 for a big test, have class all day, and then have to go work all night, where I barely make enough to feed myself and pay bills. I'm a man who used to be in a serious relationship with a man who made 10 times my annual salary. I don't date women, but the struggles aren't that different. Everything had to look and be perfect for him. He was generous with gifts and we traveled, but eventually he resented the simple fact I could not afford the things he could afford. I was making $40,000 a year working in a cubicle farm, and he practices law with his own firm. I don't think I'll ever want to date someone that is much wealthier than me again, nor do I want a sugar daddy. I took pains to contribute as much as I financially could when I was in that relationship, because we had the appearance of a sugar daddy setup. I dated one for a while, and it got super serious. Her dad was a big time lawyer. I'm a photographer / musician who surfs and rides motorcycles. I also made tacos professionally for a bit. When I met her parents, she told me not to talk about any of this. I told her parents all about myself, and they ended up loving me to her surprise. She didn't like that. I wear board shorts and flip-flops to almost everything. For Christmas she bought me all J. Crew clothes and told me to ditch the flip-flops. She made more than me and brought it up quite a bit. All of her friends loved me though, and I honestly loved her too. I treated her like a princess, but it just wasn't meant to be. She once asked me how much I would get for my motorcycle if I sold it to buy her a ring. We broke up after that. I dated this girl while in college. She never mentioned anything. She lived a simple life until I went to her family's place for Thanksgiving. Right off the bat, her mom did not like me. I respect everyone, but if you try me, I go hard. Her mom told me that she would feel more comfortable if she had my social security to do a check on me to make sure I'm not a felon or something. I asked her for her social security to make sure her money was legit and that if me and her daughter had kids, they wouldn't end up having grandparents in jail. We are not together now. I have a friend in college who was dating a girl whose family owned a large chain of hotels on the East Coast. We didn't really know this at first, and he wasn't the kind of guy to brag about it. So we were hanging out with this girl for years thinking she was just a normal person. One summer day, it was extremely hot out, and about 10 of us were looking for a place to hang out indoors. My buddy proposes we go back to his girlfriend's apartment. He was living with her at this point. He says it's big enough, so we can all hang out comfortably. So here we are, toting 30 racks of Rolling Rock, walking through the ritzy part of town, and my buddy hangs an abrupt left through these massive glass doors. The doorman greeted my buddy by name as Mr. XXXX, for which we mocked him all the way up the elevator. In the elevator he goes, "So Sarah's apartment is actually owned by her parents. They do well. So it's a pretty nice place." What he failed to mention was that his girlfriend's apartment was actually the family-owned penthouse condo on the top floor of a building right in the center of the city. It was massive, like a full-on house, set on top of a skyscraper. You had a full 360-degree view of the city. Any landmark, any neighborhood, you could see from here. There was expensive artwork on the walls, sculptures, a sauna, the works. We are standing on the threshold of this massive place and my buddy just goes, "So yeah, I live here now." He is also a smoker. He has since kicked the habit, but back then he was probably at a pack a day. It's cigarette time, and he pulls one out and is about to light it in the apartment. We are a few beers deep, and we freak out. There's no way he's allowed to smoke in here. He goes, "Yeah, I'm not. It really sucks living here and not having my own place where I can smoke inside. They really don't like us smoking right outside the building, so I have to walk all the way around the block just to have a cigarette." But I figured this out a few weeks ago. Watch this. Dude hops up onto the counter next to the stove and flips on the fume hood above him. He lights up and blows the smoke up into the vent. It was a damn good fume hood because there was not a hint of smoke in the air 5 minutes after he put it out. They're married now. My wife is great. She resisted a lot of the tendencies that money breeds into people. But my in-laws, they are out of touch with most people, let alone my wife and I. She's in grad school and I make about 50k a year with overtime. So, not hard but not easy either. We finally were able to buy a one-room condo all on our own, which we are really proud of, as not many people our age own, well, anything. When they first came to see it, we were basically made fun of for its size, the cost, the area, and anything else that didn't fit their standards. But the thing that illustrates her parents the best is a conversation I had with my father-in-law about the routes I can take to work from the new condo. I can take normal city streets, that will be a 35-minute commute, or take the toll road, and it will be a 32-minute commute. My father-in-law couldn't fathom how $3,000 a year wasn't worth the 6 minutes saved a day. It blew his mind that I wouldn't just spend the money, 6% of my yearly income, to save a grand total of 6 minutes a day.